Both striking as well as throwing, if they were to be performed effectively, would have to be learned. There is absolutely nothing quote-unquote natural or inborn about striking and throwing. These activities are no more intuitive than driving a bus or using chopsticks. Learning how to throw or to strike means devising or adopting a procedure which will then have to be followed. Training the movements which such procedure prescribes by repeating them numerous times until they become automatic and could be readily and comfortably performed at a drop of a hat. Not having any procedure in place can lead only to the delightful embarrassments like these. This is what happens when the able-bodied individuals simply have no idea what to do with themselves. Of course, those who follow the wrong kind of procedures wouldn't fare much better. While it is true that to some degree the success of throwing or striking will depend on one's athletic aptitude, but to much greater degree, though, it will depend on how good or bad the procedure which is being put into practice actually is. A flawed procedure, which is based on an erroneous notion, can handicap and greatly diminish the performance of even the most gifted and the most capable athlete. In other words, to excel at throwing or striking, you'd better know exactly what you are doing, and most importantly why. For example, here is one such notion, which would be familiar to everyone, since it is the cornerstone of any throwing or striking technique as we know it. In a nutshell, it prescribes that in order to hit a target with a projectile, one has to be driving or guiding the hand or the striking implement in the direction where the projectile has to end up, namely, the target. This notion's bogus logic is quite simplistic. If the racket or the hand flies into the target, then for sure the ball must be going into the target too. The telltale signs of this notion's presence are evident pretty much everywhere you look, regardless of the level of expertise. Isn't that what you also believe? How or when this notion was introduced is anybody's guess. But one thing is for sure, that it has been spread all over the world. Its validity is never questioned or, God forbid, challenged. On the contrary, it is widely promoted and jealously guarded. Any attempts on its sanctity would be met with stiff resistance, not only from the coaches, but also from the very victims of this ludicrous idea. Even though this notion enjoys almost unanimous acceptance, does not make it true. It is not. It is a falsehood. Simply put, all the blood, sweat, and tears which you have spilled over the years, trying to guide or drive your racket into the target, hoping that the ball will follow, was a complete and utter waste of time. You have been duped. Because in the real world, the ball does not fly in accordance with some primitive, homespun logic, and least of all, its flight will depend on the direction in which your hand or your racket are traveling. Its flight is determined by a variety of factors, ultimately by the vector which is created at the instant of its collision or release. In case of ball striking, The flight direction will depend mainly on the point of impact. So, in support of everything what has been said, let me introduce to you a ball striking machine. This simple contraption performs a single task. It swings the striking surface, call it a racket if you please, along a circular path. It does not guide or drive it in the direction of any target, real or imaginary. What this striking machine does can be easily understood and should leave no room for any delusions, speculations, or misunderstandings of what is taking place during the actual ball striking process. What you see is what you get, nothing else. Only two parameters can be changed or adjusted: the pitch of the swing and the orientation of the striking surface. As you will see for yourself, this rather limited range of possibilities is all you would ever need to replicate any stroke out of the best ball striking arsenals. Just take a good look, think about what you have seen, and hopefully you'll walk away from all this finally understanding a thing or two about how striking the ball actually works.